Thank you so much for that super informative talk on crypto gaming. Now speaking about permission networks is Sudhir Upadhyay. Serving as the head of engineering at Onyx by JP Morgan, Sudhir is at the forefront of developing digital products and solutions within the blockchain ecosystem. He possesses a wealth of experience in the finance space with his background in creating innovative applications in numerous lines of business, including credit risk, market risk, interest rates, and complex derivatives pricing. As head of engineering at Onyx, he has worked on numerous impactful initiatives, including the tokenization of financial instruments for instantaneous exchange on permission networks, and the launching of Link, the world's first bank-led enterprise peer-to-peer information exchange network. Today, Sudhir will shed light on the inner workings of permission networks and why they are critical for understanding the future of digital transactions and communications in the finance sector. We look forward to hearing Sudhir's perspective on how these technologies are shaping the industry and what the future might hold. Please welcome Sudhir Upadhyay.
Thank you so much. Let me just attach this here. Yeah, that would be good if you can. All right, I think I have it. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here. This is the first time actually I'm speaking at one of the finance institutions, academic institutions. Most of the time we go to industry conferences. And I come from traditional finance. I come from a regulated financial institution. So the first thing I would say, anything I say here and everything I say is my personal views, not from JP Morgan. So please keep that in mind as you speak about it in future. The second thing, I feel that I think this is one of the key things, from academia that you guys are doing amazing job here. So kudos to the blockchain club. I have not seen many many of the academias within the United States doing this kind of work. So fantastic work. Hence, kudos to you guys. Very well. So my talk is going to be a lot different from some of the other speakers, where in terms of what we do and how we actually are innovating within the financial industry. We are less on the crypto space, we are less on the token space, but we are solving some of the key business problems that exist within financial industry. And I'll go in some of the highlights of those. But how do we do that? How can we still innovate with everything that we have and still be regulated? And one of the options, I think a gentleman, maybe two speakers behind, he indicated that one of the ways is, let's start small, let's start in a permission model, and then move into the public. We are doing exactly how it is done in a typical public space. It's just that we stay within the boundaries of our regulations. By the way, have you guys heard of permission networks, or most of the folks are generally aware, like, public ones? Okay, there are a few. Okay. So I'll take you guys to the journey that we started several years back, way back in 2017, when even before the DeFi, the summer of DeFi, and some of the the bull run we had. That's when we started our journey within blockchain space by launching the first ever peer-to-peer bank-led information exchange network. And that's just a start, because as financial regulations, we always want to start something that we have much more control on, and then we move into larger aspects. So that was way back in 2017 where we launched it. I will not go into details of it, but I have this slide just for the purpose of discussion. Most of the people here know what the permission networks are and what's a public one. So in public, obviously, anyone with the internet and a machine can join the network and do everything that's needed. There are really no permissions, absolutely permissionless. How does it operate in a regulated world if everything is permissionless? It's almost impossible. So we bring in our permission networks, and every single participant who joins the network whether it's an individual, whether it's an institution, is KYC'd, identified, and certain operations that they can do on the network are controlled and managed and responsible. And by the way, we leverage blockchain technology for a different purpose. We leverage not for tokens, not for crypto, but there are fundamental problems that exist within the financial industry, and we want to leverage technology for that instance. And some of these are listed here, right? Where are the business opportunities? Where are the operational efficiencies? How can we reduce risk? How can we use this for reducing the friction across different groups within organizations, or even within across organizations as well. But doing so, we run into some challenges. And as we know, the technology is still evolving. 5 years or maybe 5 to 7 years is a very small time frame compared to some of the other mature technologies we have seen across the industry. So evolving, putting those in production and being responsible is a fairly a huge task for us. We also have to play with existing stack. So our banking industry has a massive amount of infrastructure that has been laid down for decades and decades. There's literally no way you can take this out and swap with something else. So there has to be some level of hybrid model where you bring in the new technology, and then it has to work nicely in collaboration with the existing one. And that's one of the challenges we run into while solving some of those problems. So now, what we are doing, so Onyx is a business unit within JP Morgan, and we are responsible for transforming how the money moves, how financial instruments can be tokenized. By the way, has anyone checked what is the total value of DeFi latest as of now? Like, just take a guess. At the moment, I think it was 100 plus billions. The financial instruments that are there right now run into trillions. So the DeFi space is still very, very small amount of what actually could be leveraged, or especially on the tokenization space. And we'll go into that a little bit more detail. But our objective is, how can we take all of those financial instruments that are, and financial derivatives and financial products that are in our network, and move into the blockchain space in a regulated manner, so that all the power of the technology can be leveraged and unleashed to simplify and improve the liquidity of those assets, which are not easily movable within the four walls of the institution. So the first thing we did was, obviously, as we start small, and then we go into bigger. So we started something called Link, which is information exchange. But most of us know information exchange is not the massive benefit out of blockchain. I mean, that's really putting real assets is something that we want to strive on. But obviously, we had to start small. So that was the first enterprise-led network that we developed in way back in 2018 and 19 timeframe. Within Onyx, and as I say, we start one step at a time. So we start with Link that actually helps us move into the information exchange. Subsequently, some of you, has anyone heard of JPM Coin? Some of you. Have you bought it? No. It's not for retail. It's not for retail. It probably will never be for retail, right? It is for JP Morgan clients to actually settle across different counterparties. It's only for wholesale institutions and clients. The third one is Onyx Digital Assets. And this is what we are actually heavily focused on at the moment, is how can we take all the financial instruments that are sitting inside the walls, inside our books and records, and move those on chains so that these can be moved much more freely. The settlement could be done, exchanges could be done in a very, very almost instantaneous manner. And that's like tokenizing of different assets, putting on chain, moving across different institutions, participants, settlement, everything included. And here are some of the, this is a pretty standard blockchain benefits for institutions slide where we are, how can we actually leverage the technology for 24/7 operationability, instantaneous settlements, reducing, transaction cost. If you do banking right now, when you move money, there is a transaction cost associated with that. When you move asset, there is a cost associated with that. So by putting on chain, we think that we can improve bring significant cost reduction, and that actually we give it back to our clients. This is power of tokenization. I think the entire, and some of the financial products markets runs into trillions, and we are just beginning to scratch the surface of what and how we can leverage technology to move that trillions onto the chain, right? Literally anything that exists can be tokenized. And take it securities, take it, precious metals, commodities, real estate, any other financial product that can be either traded over the counter or on exchanges can be tokenized. And that's what we are trying to do with the Onyx Digital Assets, is the entire gamut of those products, tokenize those, and facilitate the movement in a much more effective manner. Some of you may have heard about interoperability, and I think someone mentioned as well about the some regulatory authorities being more partnering with us effectively more. That's what we did, was how to revolutionize the actual asset and wealth management. And this is one of the line of business. So as some of you may know, when within the wealth management business, if you have assets across different portfolios, the portfolio rebalancing is a massive is a very complex work, right? And then by doing a Project Guardian last year, we were able to move assets across different blockchains. I think Ava Labs was involved, XLR, Layer 0, all of this is public information, by the way. And we were able to move individual assets across different blockchains in one of the projects we did last year. Anyone heard about repurchase agreements in finance? Some of you. I guess some of you are from business school, so you probably may know about it. So what happens in repurchase agreements is you actually loan a certain amount of money to another counterparty for 1 day. And if the amount is few $100, it doesn't matter, but if the amount is 100 million or few billions, then the interest on that is massive. To move that amount of asset in a short period of time across multiple counterparties is a massive piece of work. So most of the repurchase agreements exist only overnight. By moving that asset on chain, we were actually able to do that. We were able to lend money to our counterparties in billions for 4 hours. We do the trade in morning, we loan it, or one counterparty loans to another for 4 hours. You calculate interest, and end of the day, you actually swap your cash with collateral tokens, or we essentially tokenize 2 assets, cash and collateral. And then first thing we do in the morning is we buy and sell those, and then in the afternoon around 2:30 p.m. we actually swap it back. Someone makes money, someone gets liquidity. That's our intraday. So now we are able to do this intraday. This is the first time ever it has been done on Wall Street. Subsequently, some of you may also know the collateral business when banks and different other large-scale enterprises, these are responsible for putting or pledging a specific collateral for getting the loans. In this case, what we did was we tokenized a massive amount of collateral, put it on chain, and then pledging becomes a lot more easier because now there's the entire traceability of those assets as the asset moves along. So that's another massive or significant advantage of blockchain that we have. This was launched somewhere in April of last year, actually October last year, and we are actively trading with some of the counterparties. Yeah, this is another with a couple of other counterparties on the Wall Street. Finally, coming back to our coin systems. So you can see this progression. You did information exchange, now you tokenize the assets. What happens after that? Eventually, you have to settle. And that's where our JPM coin systems come in. We come and settle, and we leverage the JPM coin for settling across different institutions. Some of the headlines, we talk about millions. Actually, we talk about billions. And most of our trades on digital assets start with billion. Some go 5 billion, some go 10 billion. But why do we do that? I think that's a more important question. Why can't we just take all of this and put it in public? And the reason for that is we are extremely highly regulated, and we want to play by the rules, and the rules are not yet defined. However, we are building the infrastructure behind it such that as soon as the rules become more clear, we are ready at that point to move into that. And that's the power we want to bring into the entire Wall Street and financing, across financial ecosystem. I kept it pretty light. I'll leave it a lot for questions. So yeah, I think if you have any questions for me, how we are doing and how we are enhancing the entire financial ecosystem, the entire Wall Street, I'm happy to take any questions.
Hi, thanks for the talk. My name is Sudhir, and I wanted to know about that since it's a permission blockchain, and now there are new technologies in the market like ZK, where you can hide your privacy. For example, Elio is doing that. So is JP Morgan, or rather than general banking institutions, are they planning to move from permission to like more open source, where people are able to see the transactions, but they will not be able to identify who sent them, or they will not be able to know the token amount? So are you moving in those directions, or you are still sticking with permission blockchains for a while and explore a bit?
Sure. Actually, that's a great question, right? In terms of moving to newer technology to enable or leverage privacy. By the way, thanks for bringing it up, because that's one of the reasons we are not in the public chains at the moment, is because there is no privacy. And as a matter of fact, way back in 2015 and 16 timeframe, when Ethereum came out, and generally the banking industry wanted to leverage it, so we took Ethereum and we forked it Ethereum, and we actually built a privacy layer on top of it ourselves, because no one else was doing it, because entire Ethereum ecosystem was not like at the moment was not too much keen on the privacy aspects. So we took that and we built our own privacy solutions, and we open sourced this back, by the way, right? And that's called Quorum, right? So we open sourced back. I think you may have heard about it, and that was the primary intent for us to build privacy. Now, can we leverage the latest ZK technologies? Sure. But as far as I can tell, or as far as my understanding, none of those technologies are 100% ready for true production level, right? I've looked at several, and that would be my first objective, is how can I leverage those? technologies to bring in actually privacy and permissioning on public chains, but I do not believe they are ready for prime yet. Um, it's my understanding. I could be wrong, but but when it does become a true, production ready and true mature, and there is privacy with some level of transparency, sure, why not? I mean, that would be the objective. Like, we would rather move towards that, but again, it has to be fully baked, right? We can't like 3 months down the line we say let's fork it, and no one will respect us in that. So
Hi, I'm Amy. So I see real estate would be one of the industry could use the private chain to transact the transaction. Do you think the blockchain technologies is mature enough to apply the technology right now? Yes or no? If not, you have any idea? When would be the technology widely adopted by the industry?
Um, I'm actually very, very optimistic, and we are very bullish that technology is evolving rapidly. We keep very much, our fingers, on this, very actively monitoring. I do not, I cannot forecast when it will be 100% ready, but the two most important things that are needed for us to be adopting this. Number one, absolute privacy. There is no way we can go into the public if there is no privacy, period. That's number one. So I'm hoping that Ethereum and other blockchain L1 and L2 community will will start. So far, my understanding is they're more focused on the scalability, but less on the privacy. But that's number one. So I do not know the time, but I can tell you what will actually help is trigger, right? So the privacy aspect is one, regulation is other. Until these two happen, I do not think it will be fully adopted by regulated institutions like us.
So this will be start from the government level, right? Regulation and the privacy issues.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. My name is Peter Kim. I was actually curious about how JP Morgan or Onyx thinks about multi-chain, considering most stablecoin volume happens across multiple different public blockchains. Curious if you guys have a perspective on that yet.
Sure. I mean, multi-chain is definitely something that we actually think, especially for not necessarily for the stable coins, by the way, but more around the assets sitting on the public on different chains. So that was the key theme we did under Project Guardian 2, under Monetary Authority of Singapore last year, where we tokenized assets on 3 different chains. Um, and it was it was an Avalanche and Polygon, and then we moved assets using Layer 0 and XLR as part of the. So we strongly believe that, by the way, again, as I have to remind everyone, these are personal views, not JP Morgan's. Make it very clear. I personally believe that multi-chain is the future and interoperability solution, and that's why we did that project last year. We published almost like I think a 60-page paper on each of those, what we did and how we did, the entire the mechanics of how it was operated, how it was built is there in the public. So if you just search for Project Guardian 2, JP Morgan, you will find the entire public content. But answer is yes, we strongly believe in that.
Hello, Sudhir. My name is Samuel Thomas. Just want to say thank you for the talk today. I wanted to know if there's a world where down the road, outside of maybe finance, will Onyx partner up with, say, the big movie studios that want to tokenize their IP, or big gaming studios that want to tokenize their IP as well, or yeah, just that thought process. Just if you guys would like to tokenize assets with companies outside of finance, if that's a possibility.
Uh, You tokenize assets outside of finance.
Yeah, so you know, the movie studios has a bunch of IP, gaming, bunch of IP. So just wondering if you guys were thinking there in regards to those companies, those big enterprises wanted to partner up with Onyx in regards to tokenizing their assets outside of finance.
Sure. I mean, so as in addition to regulated institutions, we also for-profit organization. So any asset that can be tokenized and can make money for our clients and for us and for the partners, 100%.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of insight into what JP Morgan is thinking about as far as blockchain. My name is Layla Anderson. I was wondering, I know you guys are proving out a really important pain point, which is moving large sums of money quickly, efficiently. What about on the other end of maybe not billions of dollars, but billions of people who maybe have like small businesses, family trusts in the millions instead of billions? You know, women-owned businesses, like many other clients that maybe aren't in the billions of trillions of dollars of assets, but maybe have billions of people who have these kinds of financial needs. Are you guys thinking about them at all in blockchain?
Uh, at this point, I think we are mostly focused on, enterprises rather than retail. And just so if I can replay your question, if I understand before answering, is you're thinking more about the how can Onyx help some of the retail, individual clients. Is that how you're thinking about it, or at least your question is?
Yeah, I mean, just, banking. I think about, family trust, digitizing assets, homes, lots of assets that families would have, but maybe family trusts aren't in the billions or trillions, but they might be in the millions. Are you guys thinking about, different applications for other kinds of banking users?
I think the closest that I can think of is the project under we did under asset and wealth management, and these are mostly around individuals, high net worth individuals who have portfolios, and let's say if they were to move into non-fiat assets and how they manage their assets across different networks, that's the closest. Um, it's a bit challenging, for those because in other cases we have a pretty well defined. I would say not well defined necessarily, but the volumes of those assets are relatively lower compared to the retail. So I can definitely understand a bit more on your question, but ultimately all of those, let's say, securitization of those, trust or homes, this eventually bubble up into one large sum of, abstracted asset. That's the one gets traded, and we are focused on that at the moment.
Thank you.
But I'd love to little more. If I have not answered, please, we can stop by and discuss more.
Okay, thank you, Sudhir.